everyone in the whole construction industry is like, no, it takes 24 months. They're like, I don't care. I don't want to wait 24 months. You find out how to build it quicker for me.
Alrighty, Owen, we're live, baby. Thanks for jumping on, dude. I appreciate you.
Thanks for joining. It was an interesting way how this appearance came up. Speaking to you guys probably 2 or 3 months or so, a few rearrangements, and now we're here. And I think that we need the reciprocal, you guys coming on Bricks and Bytes one day, which we will do. But I guess I'm here first. I beat you to your podcast first.
Yeah, exactly. You have the maiden voyage here. Wait, what time is it in the UK?
Like 4:36.
4:36. Okay, so we're looking at like a 7-hour time difference. I'm in Colorado, so it's 9:30.
Oh, that's significant. Hey man, maybe your audience will find this interesting. Talking of locations and stuff around the world, so Europe has been getting very hot.
Yes,
and in the UK, I think that this was in 2020. This is as far back as this research goes, which shows you how unimportant this is within people's lives. But only 5% of households have AC, air conditioning, and that's mind blowing to American folk. Whenever I mention that, yeah.
I mean, it's common. So I'm actually getting ready to move to Boston, and that's a thing. Like in Boston, like the Northeast, it was like historically they didn't need AC, but it is warming up there. So, but it's 5% in the UK. Is that what you said?
Yeah, 5% of homes in the UK had AC. This is 2020, so maybe it's definitely got cheaper more recently, and I'm guessing that percentage will increase. Will have to, because heat is becoming a major problem for people. Over here in Europe, and we discussed last week on a podcast we done about heat-related deaths within construction, and I think it's like one of the biggest industries for heat-related deaths, which is something you probably don't think about, but has a major impact. And there is like guidelines and stuff which shows that at certain temperatures you should only be working moderate work at like 10 minutes. And then a 50-minute break, whatever the ratio is. I can't remember the exact figures, but I found it very fascinating. So here we are. Hopefully I won't die on there.
So it makes total sense, right? Of like the heat-related deaths, construction, there's a lot of labor, trades. You're obviously building stuff outside. But I had no idea, just a dumb American, no idea that it got that hot in the UK. Like, I'd never been to the UK. I'd love to go. But I always think it's like overcasty, chilly, kind of rainy, and that's just like not the case. Is that like, how hot does it get?
Well, we had recently. I'm gonna do a quick conversion degrees
from Celsius to
Fahrenheit, because I always get caught out on this. I feel like I should just learn it. But of recent, we've had like consistent temperatures of 86-ish.
Okay.
86 to 88 degrees Celsius, which is hot for the UK. You have to remember, UK building stock is not designed
wait.
or built.
Did you just say 88 Celsius?
No, Fahrenheit.
Dude, I was gonna say that's not even real. There's no way that's real. But okay, so 88 Fahrenheit. Okay, and that's like, again, that's warm, especially with no air conditioning. But you guys are seeing like casualties because of that heat?
Well, no, not specifically in the UK. I mean, the stat I mentioned earlier was global, or maybe even US.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But to the point, I mean, yeah, UK housing is not designed for such heat, so it gets super hot over here. So yeah, anyway, that was my interesting segue into this discussion.
Dude, no, I think it's good. Okay, well, cool. Well, I'm glad you're here. I imagine HVAC, we call it HVAC, it's like heating and air conditioning, is exploding in the UK. Is there a trend there? Like, if you're a guy that can do central air install, you're going to make a killing. Is that fair?
Interesting question. I can only go by the discussion I had. So I literally had AC installed in my house maybe 2 weeks or so ago. Mm-hmm. Now, and by the way, what a massive upgrade to life that is.
Isn't it?
Anyway, I was speaking to the guy who was installing, and for a trade, we call them trade. Yeah, you call them trade contractors.
Yeah.
We call them tradesmen over here. So.
Yeah, tradesmen, tradies, subs.
Maybe tradesmen is not like politically correct, but.
Well, we understand. We know where you're going. Yeah.
And he said they had about 20 jobs in the pipeline, and he was working like what time was he starting at ours? Past 7:30 and leaving at like literally 7:30. 12-hour shifts, no break. Like they were grafting,
Grinding.
as we say over here. Yeah, and he said he had 20 jobs like in queue. So that's a pretty good pipeline for a small company of say 5 people just installing these units. So I guess it will start to explode. You definitely see an increase in uptake of. Do you have air source heat pumps over there?
Of what pumps?
Air source heat pumps.
What is that? I don't know what
So
that is.
in the UK, the primary heat source of residential and maybe even commercial is boiler systems.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
have gas electric boilers, but they're now being replaced with heat pumps. I don't know if this would be the exact same thing as a HVAC system. Perhaps it is, and perhaps that's why you're not so familiar with the term. But yeah, it's like the move to electric. It's a much more sustainable way of heating and cooling your house, and phasing out of gas, less reliance on the big beast in the east, Russia, for
That's
gas
right.
into Europe. Yeah,
The beast in the east. I love it, dude. Okay,
never said that before.
Yeah, dude, I've never heard it. I love it. It's great. Okay, no, this is shaping up into a good conversation. Okay, so actually, let's take a step back. Give the listeners a little background on yourself. Okay, you mentioned you've been in
Sure.
construction, talked about your podcast, but give them a little detail of who you are.
Yeah, I found how we just spoke for 6 minutes about AC fascinating because I did start telling you, then you said I did telling you my background, and you said let's just hit record and do this, and then somehow we segued into AC and heat and whatnot.
Dude, I honestly, I think of our listeners, and I think they'd listen to this and be like, I have never thought of it that way, or maybe I'm just an idiot. Maybe I'm just an idiot, and they're like, Reece, yeah, this is pretty standard stuff. Blah, blah. I think it's fascinating, so I'm glad we talked about it.
I think a lot of people will not know because I didn't know until I had done some research and then recorded that. But anyway, my background, yeah. So I have worked in construction for around 15 years now. And I started my career in the subcontractors. I don't know what the UK subs. Yeah, here we
Subs,
go.
yeah,
I'm learning the
subs,
lingo.
yeah.
Yeah, for carpentry, joinery, and fit out, which is like the second half of a build, so to speak, or the finishes, nice stuff that goes in once the structural work is complete.
Mm-hmm.
And I trained as a quantity surveyor, so I don't. Again, another thing that doesn't translate perfectly to the US, but you're effectively responsible for the financial performance of construction projects. So you do procurement, you do reporting on costs. Is the project profitable? Is it making a loss? Paying other subcontractors,
Love it.
suppliers, purchase orders, so on and so forth. Yeah. So I qualified as a quantity surveyor as a subcontractor. And one thing I loved about working as a sub was your margin for error is very low. I don't know if you and your listeners would experience this, but you have to have a very strong attention to detail. And I think it was a great lesson for me, like setting the foundation for my career, because if you can't make a lot of errors, then you just by nature become a little bit more conscientious. I never thought I would say that about myself, by the way, because I don't see myself as a truly conscientious person, but maybe I'm just harsh.
Yeah, dude, Owen, I think that's beautiful. I had no idea. Okay, so you were a skilled tradesman. Arguably,
No, I was. Oh yeah, well, not trades as such, but
okay, you were in the skilled trades, meaning like you were doing carpentry work, finished carpentry, stuff like that. And then you jumped over into what we would call the back office. I think you called it the quantity surveying.
Well, small correction. I was never actually on the tools. I always went straight into the management side.
Into the management side. Okay. But point being, you had the background. So I think that's like massively applicable, obviously, to this listening user base. And like, I'm curious. Well, I guess my curiosity and how it differs is going to require understanding what that actually looked like for you in the day to day. But in terms of your comment of like the attention to detail, and what was your phrase? It was like the less room for error required more conscientious effort.
Yes.
Is that right?
Something like that.
Something like that. I love it, dude. Let's hear about it. Like, let's talk about what is it like tracking the books and the financials in the UK. I'm curious how it differs, if it does.
Well, it's tough. I mean, well, put it this way. Construction, and the people working in the trades are not renowned or have not won many awards when it comes to tracking their finances on projects. I think as long as there's more coming in than there's going out, then you're usually on a good path. I don't think people are necessarily counting the pennies and the pounds. They're just looking and going, "Oh, we're up this month. Oh no, we're down. Like, what the hell do we do about this?" So that's one part to it. But second part to it is it's very difficult. You're always forecasting. You never really, you don't know until you know, right? Like even when you finished a project, you could you could be forecasting a profit margin, and then suddenly there's a big thing here in the UK called retention. I think probably is retainage in the US, and suddenly the client's like 12 months later, when you think your profit's coming in, they're like, "Oh, I can't pay you that because I haven't been paid it, and there's a problem with the something over there which is totally unrelated to you, I know, but look, we're not getting paid, so we can't pay you." And you're like, well, okay, all the forecasting we just done, it's kind of gone out the window now.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead.
It's a move. Yeah, it's a forever moving target. So I would just do the best you can, do something, but don't just pray and hope. Don't just think that the numbers work themselves out, because I don't know where that will take you when it comes to really building a sustainable business.
I think that's the whole conversation. And like the fact that you're like, I want to go into what makes it challenging, again, to see the assimilations between the UK and the US. It sounds like this is just a universal problem in construction, which makes all the sense in the world. I did a podcast with a builder in Austin, Texas a couple weeks ago, Thomas Joseph, and he had phrased it as like, and this is primarily to the quality of the product that builders build. He's like, when you take a step back and you realize that who's actually building the product, right? These are people that are incredibly talented, incredibly skilled, right? But there are salt of the earth people, as we call them in the States, right? They are blue collar, they are labor working, they are in the elements, and for God's sakes, you're building a product outside, right? So the nature of what you're building is like by design variable, right? There are so many moving parts and so many different components that go into it. But that's where like the challenges of business come into the product that is being provided. It's like business, the best business is the most forecasted, consistent, expected business, right? That's all business. Like the bigger you get, the more you try to want to know and you want to control and you want to prevent variables from happening. So then you can hit the numbers, the P&Ls, the profit margin. But when you're talking about like the difficulties of it, we're very aware of that problem. But specifically for you, what makes it difficult, in your opinion, to track project financials or the quantity surveying in your guys' world? What makes it challenging?
Yeah. Oh man, you really open a can of worms with those kind of questions.
Oh, I'm gonna do it. Let's do it, baby. Let's dig.
So much. Well, two things come to mind primarily. One, maybe a few people will like pull out the party poppers here, but inadequate design.
Wait, the what? The pie poppers?
The party poppers.
Oh, the party poppers. Yeah. Like you pulling the confetti. Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he said it.
Okay.
Inadequate design. So we massively find over here in the UK that due to various reasons, client pressure, client would be employer in the US, like or owner, should I say, owner pressure, like wanting to get their projects done quickly, which doesn't give enough time to the design team to design projects adequately. That design is then packaged and sent off to downstream to the contractor, who then sends it downstream to their contractors. So you kind of like see where this is going, right? It spirals. You have this 80% inadequate design, and then it's filtering down to the people who are building it, at which point they're just like, what the hell does this mean?
Right.
This doesn't work, that doesn't work, blah 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 blah. And so then change orders start flying left, right, and center because someone has missed something or the design just fundamentally doesn't work. So that's issue, I would say, number one, which comes to it. And two, I don't know if you get this within the world of within the US. I don't think it's such a major problem there, but we work with a lot of existing buildings in the UK, and dude, they are like, as soon as you start opening those things up, it's a lottery, really. That you think everything is forecasted and you know how much something's going to cost, but you start taking down walls or you have lath and plaster over here, particularly in the UK, which is like a pig to work with, and you don't know it's there when you're doing initial pricing, and things just start to spiral and escalate, and costs just start going only one way,
Totally.
up. So yeah, two things really: inadequate design and existing buildings. I'm sure there is so much more, but the list is probably as long as you can imagine.
Totally. Well, no, and I think that those are like two very identifiable. I think the one that struck me as the most interesting, that makes a ton of sense in the world, is the pre-existing structure. A lot of remodeling, a lot of retrofits in the UK. Like, I mean, we see that primarily. Okay, so I grew up in central Nebraska. Do you know where central Nebraska is? Or do you know where Nebraska is?
Kinda. It sounds remote.
Very desolate. It's like it's a sizable state in the middle of the country in the plains, and there are like 1.2 million or 1.8 million people that live in the entire state. Massive state. It takes like 6 hours to drive across this state. Okay.
It's like the size of the UK then, huh?
More, I guess. I don't know. I've never been to the UK, but yeah, that makes sense. My point is so I grew up in like a very vast part of the country. Okay. It wasn't an issue to build homes, a lot of new construction. Okay. But as I started working more with like the East Coast client base and builders, specifically like New England, all the way down to Washington, D.C., really, it's a very dense metropolitan area. A lot of renovations, a lot of whole home remodels, a lot of I think they call it like popping the top, where they like take the roof off and add an extra story. Point being is that's like an East Coast thing, whereas the UK, I imagine, is like one of the oldest countries. It has like some of the oldest infrastructure, like city planning and urban sprawl. Like, you're surrounded by water, correct? Right?
Yeah,
For the
the
most
UK
part.
is, yeah.
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 And then, God, my geography is terrible. I got to look at a map. But point being is like you guys only have so much to go. So like the reality of your world of it's a lottery on nearly every project stacks the deck not in your favor. Right? It's like by design, like it's not like you guys have like all this space to go build these big custom homes unless you're tearing something down and building something in its place. But you guys are just like are immediately against like, okay, we can design this thing and we can bid this thing and we can take years of experience to insulate ourselves as best we can against the reality, but then start tearing into this wall and it's out the window, scope creep like crazy, load bearing walls failing. We need structural steel. We need to upgrade electricity, this stuff, whatever it might be. Is that fair?
Yes, you're also forgetting the unexploded bombs of World War II that may exist.
Dude, what?
Below a building.
What?
Yeah. Every now and then. It's quite rare these days, but it does happen. Yeah, someone be doing a project, and then there's like, oh crap, we've just like hit the top of an unexploded bomb. Like there's surveys that you do, unexploded ordnance surveys, to try and to like the bombs have been mapped, and if your project is in one of these, then you have to go and do some further investigation. But it's quite funny. Yeah, you will come across these. And one of my friends actually, he was in the British Army, and his job was to, when there was an unexploded bomb found for whatever reason, it could have been a project, it could have just been someone was digging in their garden, I don't know, whatever the circumstance. But he would quite often go to these like call outs and start like doing what they do and find it's just like a cardboard box with and see a logo of like the local bath store or something on it and be like, it's just a bath, not a bomb. Don't worry, guys.
Dude, I never would have considered that. Again, like I think it's like the challenges are quite different, but there is like similarities. What do you do in a situation when you find a bomb? Is it evacuate everybody and you're like, we got to get someone to come in and take care of this thing? Like, what is it?
Pretty much, yeah. Luckily, I've never been involved, but I can recall pictures I've seen on websites through the news where, the police and whatnot will come and shut off a certain area, and then they'll call in the army to disarm it and get rid of it, and you carry on.
You carry on, dude.
Yeah.
How big are these things? And how do they get there? And like they're hidden almost.
Yeah, I don't know. I suppose the ground has just never been like dug, excavated up to that point, and so it's a new piece of land, effectively.
Insane. Yeah.
But do you know what's interesting? Just one other thing to your point about Nebraska, just so people can understand. So you said Nebraska had 1.2 million people in.
1.8. I think it's 1.8.
1. Roughly, yeah. So Nebraska is 80% of the size of the UK. And so the population of London alone is 9 million, I think.
That's insane.
So think about that. Yeah. That's just London. Yeah, so 8.9 million people in London. So you can imagine like the density of population, which further complicates how to do construction over here. That's why everyone really is just going up now. Up. How high can we go? Well, obviously not like that, but like, yeah, we don't build so much horizontally anymore.
Totally. What, I mean, is that just like taking out old buildings and just building skyscrapers? Or is there like a component of like trying to maintain the historic charm of London? Like, how does all that get decided?
Good question. A few ways. Well, my brain goes a few ways when you ask this. So, firstly, we have this thing called listing. So, if there's a building of significant historic interest, it will be listed, which means you are restricted as to what works you can do on it, and you have like different grades. So you have like grade 2 listed, grade 1 listed. Maybe there's some more as well, which I'm not too familiar with, but they seem to be the two most common ones on projects I've worked on. Grade 2 is you can alter as long as you maintain the appearance and you get the right permissions and you only work within the parameters of the permission that you've got. But grade 1, which would be like Buckingham Palace or buildings like Henry VIII type mansions or whatever that have of significant interest, you're very restricted on what you can do to those.
Totally.
You have to maintain even stupid things like floorboards. The floorboards may be listed, so you can't take off and throw out the floorboards. People just build on top of them. So,
but why the floorboards? Okay, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but like, is there like some type of significance that they want to maintain the now? Or is it just government bloat? Is what we could call it.
Kinda. Some of it, yes, but some of it is like they could have been the original floorboards from 200 whatever years ago. So they don't want people don't want to get rid of them. They just want to keep them. And so it causes major issues. That's another thing why it's so difficult to forecast costs on projects, right? Because if you have a load of that in, and suddenly you realize, like, yeah, you found something of significant value, then you have to consider what to do next.
Totally. Well, and I think, like, again, that's the similarity here between building in the United States and the UK is just like the unforeseen stuff. That's where, like, primarily when you talk to builders, like if they're new construction, right, they're building a new vertical product, it's not as rampant typically. From my understanding of like these changes, they're coming from like a builder variance, right, an issue that they created, or a customer variance, right? But they mitigate a lot of that unforeseen work that comes in. But when it comes to remodeling in the United States, I mean, that's why you hear guys want to get out of remodeling and into new construction.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're like, dude, like you could walk into a house and think it's a home run project and it's going to be great. And you're going to hit your 40% margin that you're looking for, 30% margin you're looking for. And then all of a sudden you tear it out and it's like the electrical isn't up to code. And now you have to go to a customer and say like, hey, it's going to be this much more money or whatever it might be. So yeah, I mean, those are there, but I mean, obviously, like through the lens of adaptive, like we're fairly bullish on what is controlled being automated to give better visibility into the forecasting, into the cash flow positions and not. But like, I'm actually curious, like what the solution is going to be for situations that you're talking about, because it's still bizarre to me that it's like truly global and like there isn't a solution. Like it's bizarre to me.
Yeah.
How isn't this like a builder's like, yeah, I'm going to go and build a skyscraper that's going to have 1,000 residential units in it, and 500,000 commercial square feet, whatever, million square feet of commercial. And then they just like run into all these issues that make it like totally brutal to move a project along. And they're just taking these absorbent risks for an extremely low margin business. Like, how isn't this a solution? What do you think?
No, I 100%. And I actually do not think the solution exists or will ever exist, because when bidding for projects, sometimes the less you know, the better, if you want to win it. So you must be very familiar with the term. Like, if you price the project well, you're never like, you're not going to win it, because it's the person that it's the race to the bottom, huh? It's
Exactly. There we go.
So you could be the like most professional contractor. You could go in, you could allow for all of this risk within your price, but it's going to put you like 20% higher than the guy that comes in from the street and is like, yeah, I'll do everything. And you'll sign up to a quote with me, which is 20% cheaper. But you'll still end up paying the same price when everything is said and done. But the irrational customer on the other end sees the price 20% cheaper. It's like, yeah, I'll take that because it's the lowest price. I want that built. And that's it. So you can, if you uncover all of these risks, then it doesn't actually do you no favor at the start. And so the solution, if you found a solution which could do all this for you, I don't think it will break the fundamental tradition that exists within the industry, which is lowest price wins. And you could rant about that for hours. I think a lot of people probably share that frustration.
Dude, think about like luxury goods, right? It's like it's the trend in handbags. It's like you're buying something at like a 2,000% markup because of the print that they put on the bag. Completely inversed, right? It's like, it's not the cheapest product wins. It's the most expensive product wins, right? It's the status level, right?
Yes.
So it's like, how do you flip that, right? I truly think, and I brought this up on the podcast I was doing with Thomas Joseph. I was like, in the United States, there's a huge inventory shortage for homes, residential. So all the big national builders are coming in and they're building a ton of product. Okay. I know friends that have bought these homes and they're like 6 months, 18 months into living in a new construction home. And they've got some like pretty serious issues. Like,
oh my gosh,
like HVAC catching on fire, right? And like,
and
like concrete splitting in a garage, right? And like stuff. These are like decent capital expenditures, right?
Oh my gosh.
And
so glad you said this.
Well, and so my take to Thomas was like, I think we're going to be coming in with the shortage in inventory, national builders building a ton of product at volume that's not quality. Like, the first obnoxious thought is this product, is this asset even going to outlast the life of the loan? We do 30-year mortgages in the United States, right? It's like, is this even going to be an asset in 30 years, right?
Wow.
Which I'm like, is that going to drive a consumer to emphasize a quality product, almost suggesting like that inverse of cheapest person wins, into someone saying, okay, the United States has been moving across the nation like crazy since COVID. You've got people from Nebraska moving to Denver, and California moving to Austin, like a lot of sprawl and movement. But with all of these challenges, are they going to move into a more quality focused product, not suggesting a low cost price wins, but a high cost price wins, so you can get into 100-year asset? That was a lot. Were you tracking?
That's an interesting thought, actually. I don't know.
He disagreed with me. Thomas disagreed with me. And maybe I might have lost you. Did I lose you in there?
No, you didn't lose me. I think my point to this would be, I don't think people really, when you're in that like emotional state and you want to buy your first home or whatever, you don't consider really the lifetime value of the asset that you're buying, like the lifetime cost, should I say.
Sure.
So if it is cheap on paper and that's what you can afford at that time, and maybe like you have other pressure, like you want to start family or you want to get married and whatever it might be, then I think that you will just go for the asset and deal with the problems afterwards. Like, it shouldn't be that way. 100%. It shouldn't be that way. They shouldn't have problems. You should be able to move into somewhere and it'd be functional. But Unfortunately, that's the reality. And I don't think that, especially over here in the UK, you don't get a lot of support from the government if you do end up in one of these new build homes or schemes whereby which you can't get out of, or where there's major issues because just profit pushing companies, and like you're a small fish. Like your little house is a problem. Sorry about that. I've got 400 homes to build over here.
Dude, okay, so you're suggesting that, and correct me where I'm misunderstanding, but you're suggesting that it's such an emotional decision that people overlook the reality of what they're getting into. Am I missing, or is that what you're saying?
Not entirely, but I think ultimately affordability and what you can buy is the deciding factor. So if you haven't got the money, but you want, say to take your hypothesis, if you want to go for expensive price wins, but you can't afford it, then you can't afford it. Whereas if you can afford a cheaper house, unbeknowingly that you will encounter problems, then you will probably take that option at the time when you are thinking of purchasing a house. Does it make sense?
No, it totally does. What's the average square foot of a home in the UK?
To build?
That someone lives
buy?
in. What's the average square foot of a home of like the average consumer?
Like 100-ish, I would like to say. I don't know that for certain, but just thinking.
I think that would be interesting. Yeah, and because this is like kind of my counter to that is, and this is like just from an American perspective, is I want to say it's something insane. Like it, like from the 1950s, it was like the average square footage of a home was like 800 square feet, 900 square feet. They were raising like 4, 5, 6 person families in these things. Now you're getting up. Go ahead.
Yeah, UK it would be 1,000 square foot UK average size
is what it currently is. Whereas in the States, it's like 2,000.
Yeah.
And you're just like sitting there and you're like, dude, the expectation of homes is like, we got to have a 2,000 square foot home with 3 beds, 4 baths. And like, we've got to have all this stuff. And it's like, no, you don't. Why? Like if we're talking about quality, right? And it's like, I can't afford it. It's like, well, who in the hell, like, do you as a 28-year-old young family need a 2,500 square foot home or a 3,000 square foot home in Dallas? No. Right. It's like you need 1,200 square feet of a well-built product that you could very likely hang on to for 30 years and see the appreciation of it run. And it's going to be a much better investment than the 3,500 square foot home that you want that's got all the bells and whistles, but is falling apart after 12 months.
Yeah, I agree.
You're just getting into my rant. Go ahead.
When you mentioned about these low quality new build homes in the UK, I don't know how I came across this, but man, it's like I'm almost embarrassed to admit this, but hey, I will do it. But came across a channel or page or whatever on TikTok. I don't use TikTok. Let me just clarify that to protect my ego a little bit.
Yeah, it's a badge of honor.
Yeah, just to protect my ego. But there's this one in the UK called Home Snag.
Home Snag.
I can't remember that's the tag. Let me try and find this because I think people should check it out for the entertainment. But Home Snag, TikTok. Yeah, basically this guy goes around with do you call it like a spirit level? In the like it's like a level. So if you're trying to install something flat, then you put the level on and you'll have a little bubble. Which will tell you yeah. Where he basically goes around in these new build houses from the major developers over here in the UK, which would be companies like Taylor Wimpey, Persimmon, is it Berkeley Homes, and so on. And he'll like just go through a house, new build, and be like, the brick wall is not straight, like the brick,
not plumb,
the brick wall. No, like from just like a 1 meter level, it's like a gap like that between the bottom and the top. It's insane, like the quality of these things.
Yes,
and yeah, just check out a few videos. It's ridiculous. It's like criminal almost.
That's kind of my point, and like again, like we're like this, like actually has been like a very good conversation, very interesting conversation. But like starting at the beginning of like, what are the challenges to run these costs? Like then you start to talk about the pressure that you had initially mentioned with poor design, right? Like guys at the top are like, we committed to these timelines. Like this is what it's going to take. This is what we have to hit. And then you just rush from the very beginning of it. And then you start getting into product like that. And it's like, how could we be off 10 degrees on this wall or whatever the measurement is, right? Like half an inch from the top to the bottom I feel like is a big deal, right? And
100%.
and it's just like I don't know who that's helping. But then it's just like this huge circular, like massive problem of like where do you start or who's got the answer to prevent this type of stuff from happening.
I don't know, man. I really don't know what the solution is. And then you got to get people into them, like who can actually afford to buy them. Then you've spent your whole life trying to save and buy one, and then you find out the brickwork is like endangering you somehow.
Yeah.
Liabilities.
Brutal. Okay, this has been a good conversation. I'm curious, do you have anything that you feel strongly about bringing up on the podcast?
Well, maybe people will find this interesting. So, a little bit about me, perhaps, that like I don't really work in construction anymore. Like I do but my career kind of took an interesting turn when I start. So I was in, like I mentioned at the start of this podcast, at subcontracting business. I then started my own business during COVID, doing owner's rep work. That was following a small little stint at a like more corporate company, and then started my own company doing it. And then as whilst doing that company, started Bricks and Bytes. Bricks and Bytes is a podcast slash media company. It was a podcast, which we started just after COVID when everything was online, moved to online. And that has slowly grown into my main kind of focus now, which is like strange how someone from construction can go into media. Like half the time, I'm like, I don't have a fucking clue what I'm doing, but somehow it's working itself out.
Yeah.
And you speak to, like, it's funny, you speak to people from media and they come up with all these terms, and I'm like, I have no idea what you're speaking about, but sounds good.
Right. Dude. Okay. So talk about Bricks and Bytes. What do you guys talk about? I to my fault, I haven't listened to it yet. I will though.
Yeah, no worries. It's okay. Well, first off, construction is very fragmented, so you could be in the industry and would never have heard about this. But we really focus on tech within construction, AEC sector specific. So architecture, engineering, construction. We speak to technology builders, solution, a bit like adaptive people building the software or the hardware, robotics. And the people that are buying and purchasing this software and actually using it on site. So more of a corporate level, and they're talking multi-billion-dollar revenue contractors, ENR list type of people, and just seeing what's what in that world, and I'm seeing what's out there. How we're going to build better. What are the best products? Like, where's the future going? Where's innovation taking us? So yeah, we've been doing that for 3 years now, and it's been interesting.
I love it, dude. Yeah, I guess like what's like your general pulse? Like what is your current synopsis of where construction is going to be going based on the technology and what's out there?
Yeah, two things. I seem to always have two things for every question you ask, but that's cool.
Yeah.
Number one, consolidation of technology. So what you're finding is are you familiar with the term point solutions?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm not sure whether it's just like applicable to the world I'm in. So I just
no. Point solutions is like widely used over here. Yeah.
Okay, fine, cool. You get it. So yeah, people have the large corporate, the large general contractors and architecture engineering companies have like whatever 250 softwares on their current IT system.
Insane.
And they're like sick of it. So they're trying to work out ways now. This is the consensus of how to consolidate that down to say 50 or less, an arbitrary number, but
sure.
Literally reduce it by 80%. That's interesting to see how that'll pan out, and I think that it's either going to be done through artificial intelligence and agentic workflows, but the jury is still out on that. There's companies that are doing it, but I think a lot of them are still yet to prove themselves. And there's also this pressure from big tech. So obviously the data center boom is among us, and these big tech companies, Tesla, Microsoft, Amazon, Google, etc., they don't want to wait 24 months for a data center. Like, even though everyone in the whole construction industry is like, no, it takes 24 months. They're like, I don't care. I don't want to wait 24 months. You find out how to build it quicker for me. So you have this pressure now from big tech coming into the industry, forcing the big builders to think like, okay, how can we actually deliver it for 18 months? And that's resulted in these large companies hiring, internal AI software / AI engineers to build custom solutions for the projects to speed them up, and also a lot of offsite and prefabrication. So the good thing about data centers is they're generally very standardized, so you can manufacture a lot on offsite rather than relying on too much site labor. And hopefully that kind of effect of that translates to the rest of the industry, where we can start to think about, push the limit. How do we build quicker? How do we get the infrastructure? Housing is a major issue, like you mentioned earlier, shortages. How can we get these things done quicker? And still to a good level of quality, of course. So yeah, that's what's on. And obviously labor shortages, hardware, robotics is a hot topic.
Totally.
For people.
Dude, and I think it's a great it's a great synopsis point of view to have. And I think, like, candidly, like, after hearing it, I think it just like validates at least my conviction that there will be a solution out there that is solving the problems of the top feeling pressured to rush design, to then overlook pre-construction, that's creating expensive problems in the back end, that is creating change orders and all this stuff. Like, I am bullish that there will be products out there that solve those problems. And I think it's going to come from the pressure of exactly what you had just discussed, like how fast this world is changing and how much of it is revolved around tech and what that tech is doing to the infrastructure of our communities. The one thing that I'm just like still hung up on is, like, do I think that they're going to be robots walking around job sites, tying in rebar for the foundation of a data warehouse or a data center? I don't know. I don't think so. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good point. Okay. Well, I think one day it kind of has to happen, but I don't think we'll be talking in like 10 to 20 years time. We could be like way beyond that. And whether they would be in the typical sense, which people probably imagine when you say robotics, like as a humanoid form, I don't think so. It will be like a very specific kind of robot that's built, which just looks like a
piece of equipment.
Yeah, a car or something, as a stupid example.
Yeah, sure.
So I think you will start to see these being rolled out, but you still need humans. Yeah, there's so much unpredictability and interfacing with robots that needs to happen before all of this happens. But don't get me wrong, there are like very smart people working on this issue and really trying to figure out and running simulations and putting tons of money in to try and work out how this can be done. I think what might be an interesting approach versus robotics is more off-site manufacturing. So we spoke to this great company called QB, and we actually done like a very interesting documentary with them on this about mobile microfactories, where effectively they build a factory last mile, so within 150 to 200 mile radius of a large home development site, say 200, 300, 400 homes, whatever it might be. They manufacture all of the components within the factory itself and then deliver that to site, flat pack it and deliver it to site. And it can then be installed by very, very low skilled labor. I think it takes like 1 to 2 months to train onto their system, to be like IKEA standard, basically, to be able to put this stuff together. And the amazing thing about them is because the manufacturing process by nature is extremely systemized, their whole factories are built to like perfect precision, that it's all like coordinated. So you could put a humanoid robotic eventually within that factory, which is then produced in the flat pack, delivered to site, and installed by labor on site.
Yeah,
so it's a fascinating approach.
Totally, dude. I think when you start talking about like tech horizons and what this world's going to look like in 20, 30, 40 years, that's where I think maybe you are right. To the point, like, we will see them. Is it going to be like the Terminator robots? No, maybe not. Maybe. Who knows? But no, I think when you start talking about that, like the prefabbed homes and like modular building and all of this stuff, like, it's pretty popular here. The 3D printing homes, like right now it's extremely basic. But there's a builder in Austin who's just like totally like sold his life to 3D printing homes, and he's actually like picking up traction. Again, they look like Star Wars houses, right? They're like these like dome structures with like layers and layers of poured concrete with everything in. But it's like, dude, what's innovation going to look like in 20 years with that? It's like, who knows? I don't know.
No, I don't know. Yeah. Pass. I think it really will depend. Ultimately, we're humans. We need a certain way of living. So, yeah, I think we'll always have that that aesthetic and performance that we want to achieve. And whether you can achieve that through 3D printing at an affordable cost, which looks nice, which performs well, which is accessible, the jury is out.
There's time. This it could be just a different episode, Owen, but I will say, I think we did a hell of a job at trying to solve the world's problems. I think we put a little bit of a dent in this thing. I thought it was
Keep
great.
trying.
I appreciate you for coming on the show, dude. It was a great conversation.
Yeah.
Great to meet you. And yeah, if you ever want to be back on or you want to have me on yours, let me know.
Yeah, sure, man. Thanks, Reece. Appreciate the performance, and yeah, keep doing great things at Adaptive.
Cool, dude. I appreciate it. I'll let you jump to it. Enjoy your evening. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of my day, and it was a pleasure. Thanks for jumping on.
Thanks, Reece.
You bet. See you.
Take care.